Hello everyone. I just wanted to put a short video together for you all talking about the New England Trail, kind of a wrap up of my through hike that I just went through southbound on the 230 mile trail. It's labeled as about 207, but I found it to be about 230 miles. If you have not seen those videos, go check them out. There's 11 videos, 11 daily videos, starting with day 0 going all the way through day 10. Giving a lot of detail about what my experience was on that journey. For those of you who do not know, I'm on a quest to through hike all of the national scenic trails. There's 11 of them. This was my third one, the shortest one so far. Like I said, about 230 miles. My other two were well over 2,000. I found it to be a great trail though. Just want to go in detail a little bit about what you can expect on the trail. And there's not a lot of videos and vlogs here on YouTube concerning the New England Trail, as that is considered kind of the baby, one of the babies of the National Scenic Trails. I believe it was just added in 2009, if I remember the year correctly, which it was like one of the last times anything was added to the National Scenic Trails currently, the last time. By the time you see this video, there might be 2 more, who knows? But the trail itself, let's talk about that first of all. The trail is elevation-wise, it didn't seem like a lot, about 30,000 total elevation gain, but that is quite deceiving as it is very steep ups and downs when there are ups and downs. It never gets above 1,700 feet. There's several summit opportunities, and if you've seen any of my videos before, you know that I definitely have said this before. Shorter, smaller, elevated mountains seem to be a little harsher, and that is totally the case here. I think there was only one set of switchbacks on any one of the mountains. Everything else was kind of straight up and straight down. Good incline, good descents. There is a lot of scree and trap rock. So you do have that as terrain. A lot of rock, especially when you get, if you're going southbound about the 75-mile mark, the Holyoke Range, it starts getting quite a bit rockier. If you're going northbound, you'll find it through about 20 miles into Connecticut all the way up through halfway through Massachusetts. Quite a bit of a rock that you have to deal with. So keep that in mind that when you're out there, you're going to have some rocks. It is New England. It's kind of the name of the game in any trail in New England. It's just how the mountains and the terrain is. Hopefully the cars out here are not too loud. This trail's right next to a road, and people like to rev their engines for some reason. So hopefully you can hear everything I'm saying. The blazes, it's a very well blazed trail. A lot of S curves, a lot of trail that kind of disappears at times because it's not worn down from a lot of hikers. It's not used a lot from hikers, which is a great thing if you like to be kind of away from people when you're through hiking or backpacking or what have you. So the trail sometimes can get lost a little bit. A lot of other trails that are not marked or marked not as well kind of cross with it. The blazes are very good. It's very, very blazed. Sometimes in Connecticut, they're faded or they're in the wrong spot or the wrong tree, so it can be a little bit of an obstacle. I got off the trail probably half a dozen times, but I didn't get very far before I realized, I don't think this is right because I haven't seen a blaze for a while. And sure enough, I'd look at my navigation maps, which I use Far Out, All Trails, and Gaia, all 3, just to kind of compare them and make sure that they're all matching up. And they all worked really well with the trail. For the most part, if you follow the blazes, even on the roads, the road walks, it'll definitely show you, where you're supposed to go. One of the things that I would talk about here on the trail itself is roads. For the most part, the road walks that you have are short, and there's not many shoulders, I'll put it that way. So you got to keep that in mind, that that's a danger out there. Not everybody's paying attention to the hikers when they're driving, so pay attention to them. For the most part, the road walks weren't too bad, but there are some sketchy road crossings. So keep that in mind. Route 6 was one of them that I thought, why in the world is the trail crossing this road? Route 6 is a pretty busy U.S. highway through several states, and it's not any less busy right there. So keep that in mind. It's easily navigable. The terrain is good, but it's rocky. The blazes, are what they are. For the most part, you can see where you're going, but you want to keep an eye on it. The times when there's not a blaze is where there should be a blaze. I will be honest. So you always want to look ahead, like, okay, 100 yards down. Do I see a blaze there? Do I see a blaze on this other trail? Kind of follow it that way. For the most part, that'll get you through. Just pay attention. If you're on a trail for a quarter mile and you don't see a blaze, you're probably on the wrong trail. Look at your maps and make sure that you're on the correct trail. We're going to go into more detail about some of the obstacles on the trail, and want to give you a good in-depth here, because there's not a lot out there on this trail, and I want to make sure that you are armed with the information and research that you need before you tackle it. Let's talk about the two things that a lot of people wonder about on this trail, and that is water and camping. Now, I went in fall during a drought. Water was tough. I'm used to it. I'm used to the PCT, where sometimes I'm carrying 6 liters of water. If you're not doing 20 miles a day, there's going to be times when it's a little tough. So you might want to go during a wet or rainy season, if that's the case, to make sure those creeks are not as dry as they were for me. There was 2, maybe 3 days where I had at least a 20-mile hike without water. So I was carrying 4 liters a lot to always make sure I had enough. The good thing is you're always pretty close to roads and towns, except for maybe the last 40 or 50 miles of Massachusetts, where that's more remote. You wrap around a lot of towns, even big cities for that matter. You don't go through the big cities, you can wrap around them though. So you're crossing several roads each day. Just keep in mind, it is a dry trail to a lot of people. That's something that's very relative though, depending on how many miles you're doing and how long you can go, how many liters of water you need per mile, or how many miles you could get to a liter, I should say. The other thing is camping. It's very well known in this area that you are not supposed to camp anywhere where there's not shelters or designated camping areas, mainly because there's a lot of private land that the trail goes through. I've found that most of, if not all of that private land is marked. So you always know where there's private land. When you're up on a ridge or on a summit, there's always areas where you can camp. I'm not telling you to camp there, because that would be telling you to rebel. But I'm telling you that you're going to see spots where there's fire rings and camping spots that locals have put up there to go see the sunrise and sunsets. You do walk along a lot of cliffs, a lot of beautiful views, and I'll get to that in a second as far as that. But it's a lot of flat area in those areas, so you could set up a tent when needed. Trying to think right now. I had 3 days that I stayed in a town or a motel after long days. I never had a Nero or a Zero, but I had long days and I'd stay in a town or motel one night to kind of escape the rain. And then I had 2 nights that I actually slept in a shelter. One night I didn't really have a choice because there was no tenting spot around. Actually, both nights there was no tenting spot around. One, I kind of decided to stay in the shelter just because I needed to get up very early to start my day, and that allows me to tear down a little quicker. The rest of the nights were all in tents in various spots. I believe one of those was in designated. The other ones were what I knew was public land, and I set up late and I got up early before anybody would be walking through anyway. So I knew there was public land, not really supposed to do that, but what are you supposed to do when you're hiking 20 or 30 miles and you need to set up? You can't go into town at that point. At least I wasn't going to go into town. You have to figure that out for yourself though. Just remember, leave no trace. Remember to leave the area the way you found it. And I always use areas that, were used by locals and there were already tent spots anyway. And that reminds me of the next step, or the next point I want to make, and that's the Trail Angels and Help. Definitely get up onto the New England Trail group page on Facebook. It's full of maintainers and trail angels that will help you out when needed, for rides, water caches, whatever else. They're very willing to help. You just got to communicate with them that you need your help, that you need to help, and they'll do that. I got 3 different times I got rides from 2 different trail angels, or actually 3 different trail angels. One was a couple, and then one was a single person that took me back to trail after it was a rainy day that I was in a motel and had to walk on a very sketchy, wet road known as a turnpike. That wasn't very fun. I didn't want to have to do it the second time, so Trail Angel picked me up and brought me back to trail. Resupply, you have a lot of opportunities to get off the trail. You pass by a couple restaurants. I walked about 3/4 of a mile one day to a McDonald's to have breakfast. A little bit out of the way, but that was okay. I was keeping a good pace. So the water being one of the issues and the camping are the other. There's really the only obstacles except the trail itself. Very well maintained trail. Whether you're through hiking, section hiking, backpacking, day hiking, I would definitely recommend this trail. It's a beautiful trail. I went in the fall, so the peak fall colors were burst and was beautiful. Check out the videos if you haven't. I'm going to put together a documentary video, which will be kind of a condensed video of all the through hike itself. Lastly, let's talk about the views. If you're going southbound, starting at the Massachusetts-New Hampshire line, you're climbing summits, but it's not as much cliffs. So you're getting to the summits that are a lot of times socked in, or you have antennas or something like that, or towers. But once you start getting to the Holyoke range and everything's wide open, and then you're walking on cliffs for a good portion of the rest of the time. Obviously going northbound, that would happen sooner. But it's a beautiful, beautiful set of trail with views down into the valley and the towns below. It's great to see Connecticut and Massachusetts from the cliffs, even though it never gets very high. You're 500 to 1,700 foot up above sea level most of the time when you're on those cliffs. But it's beautiful views. Definitely highly recommend it. The last point I want to make, northbound versus southbound. I went southbound. The reason I chose to go southbound is because I was going to utilize my car. So I could park my car at the southbound at Guilford, Connecticut at the train station. I then took a train to New Haven, and then I took a bus to Springfield, Massachusetts. Then the Trail Angel brought me from Springfield, Massachusetts up to the terminus, the northern terminus at the Massachusetts-New Hampshire line. Then I just walked south back to the car. It's not as easy to do that the other direction, but if you're not utilizing the car, it really just depends where you want to end up. I live south of there, so it didn't make sense for me to take my car to the north end and then have a longer drive back once I was done. But either way is beautiful. No way is easier or harder. It is what it is from beginning to end. It's a through hike. You have obstacles, you have things you have to go through just to get to the end if you're doing it as a through hike. It's all beautiful. There's no section that's more beautiful than the other. I would definitely check it out. I hope you enjoyed this video and the other videos, and look forward to posting a video of the documentary, more condensed version. But thank you for tagging along. As always, if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe and let your friends know, because you know there's more through hikes coming here on Fortune Adventures. Live life.